name is KJ, and you're listening to the Supernatural Opinions podcast, where some things in this world are supernatural. My pronouns are she, they, and this is the podcast where I talk to my fellow Supernatural fans about Supernatural, and we share our Supernatural opinions. This week, we are going to be talking about character death. Reminder that discussion episodes are open to all seasons and episodes, and this will contain spoilers from episodes including and beyond last week's episode, which was Season 3, Episode 4. So, yeah, spoilers be here.
As they should be.
I know we're going to get right into them. So, today being joined by my guests, Meredith, Nick, and August. They're all returning, but Meredith, remind everyone who you are.
My name is Meredith, my pronouns are she and her, and if you're a big fan of the way Supernatural handles character death, you should probably not listen to this episode.
I think everyone has complaints this week.
Yeah.
Nick, remind everyone who you are.
Hey, I'm Nick. I go by he, him, and I'm excited to be returning.
Yeah, it's your first time this season, so welcome back. And August, remind everyone who you are.
My name is August. My pronouns are they, them, and I am one of the hosts at Saving People Queering Things, which is also a Supernatural Rewatch podcast, and I'm also one of KJ's co-hosts over at Wayward Parents, where we're talking about the Winchesters.
But yeah, we're talking about character death this week, and before we get really into any thoughts, I just wanted to talk about why I picked now to talk about it. And part of it was the end of season 2. We had our first major Winchester death when Sam died and was fully dead. Dean had to sell his soul to get Sam back to life. The other is an episode that we are coming up to this season, which is Mystery Spot, an episode where Dean Winchester dies 100 times. So really two opposite kind of takes on character death in those two episodes that we're kind of in the middle of right now. But we're going to talk about, I think, deaths from across the seasons. Because
up to and possibly including some finale stuff.
Yeah, I want to talk about some finale stuff. So maybe let's start with Sam's season 2 death, because I think it's a very impactful death. I think it's a well done death, even though it's less. It is 15 minutes. If you watch the episodes back to back, it is one commercial break, maybe two. Sam dies at the end of season 2, episode 21, All Hell Breaks Loose Part 1. He's revived midway through All Hell Breaks Loose Part 2. But something about the way that they set it up is very emotional. Dean's very emotional, and Jensen is so good at that.
It's the first, it's not the first, impactful death, but it's the first brother death that's, has that, see, obviously Dean at the beginning of season 2, there's that sort of, but because it doesn't actually,
yeah, he doesn't die.
Yeah.
He's not fully dead.
Yeah.
Same with, In Faith. He's close to death, but he's not dead, so, it doesn't really count, even though they count, for us, narratively, they're important, but in terms of character death, this is the first,
it's the first
except
time
for their parents,
it's the first time they kill a main character in the show.
Unless you kill John.
John's not a main character. John's a side villain.
Not even a main villain.
No, just a side villain.
So true. Look at me already, it's literally the Winchesterification of John Winchester. He has already risen in my brain, having main character energy that he did not previously have.
I think, when I think about supernatural character deaths, and I think about the season 2 Sam death, that's still, the death that probably comes to mind when I think about, impactful story deaths, because it had so much weight. They didn't know at that point that, characters could come back. They didn't know. Later on, one of them dies, and you're like, okay, how are they getting out of this one? At this point, we didn't know that was possible.
Even watching that now, when I'm okay, I have 13 seasons to go on after I'm done this episode. I have 13 more seasons waiting for me. Even now, I'm sad when Sam dies. It's emotional. That episode, Dean's reaction to Sam dying and Dean's reaction to thinking Bobby is dead in season 7, episode 3 are the two episodes that birthed the mental health section of this podcast. Those are the two. I'm Dean Winchester not doing okay.
It's the ones where you need a hug.
Dean, it's you need inpatient therapy. You are an active suicide risk.
I still remember the first time I watched that death. I binged through what was existing of the show at that point, which was the first six or so seasons. So I definitely did watched the season 2 finale and then immediately watched, immediately knew he wasn't dead very quickly, also because I knew the show still existed. But it's still, feel it really hard that it feels like it feels like the show changes, super dramatically and will never be the same again.
I feel like it's one of the better underdone supernatural deaths, and like the fact that he comes back doesn't actually cheapen emotional impact, which it does later in the series because they use this trope so often.
It's true. This actually feels like it matters in a way that some of the later deaths do not have the same.
Yeah, I promise I'm going to stop telling this story, but like I would say like the end of season 13.
I was like, you're going to talk about it in season 13, aren't you?
Yeah, Apocalypse World, Sam gets his throat torn out by vampires, and I was just like, I was so mad. I was like, Sam Winchester's dead again. This is going to be a whole ordeal to solve, and I literally just turned it off mid-episode. I was like, how dare they kill Sam again? Like, I'm so sick of Sam getting killed off for like no apparent reason. What is this doing? And I just literally, I turned it off. I didn't finish the episode. He's not even dead until like into the next episode. He's back by the end, end of that episode.
5 minutes, like in showtime. Like,
but I felt some rage in those 5 minutes, and I fully turned the Supernatural off, and I didn't watch it for 6 months.
Okay.
Yeah, and that would be a flaw in the writing. Like, the audience is not supposed to have that reaction.
I think I'd be curious actually to find out how many like quit the show at some point, regardless of whether or not they came back, quit at the point of a character death that ended up not playing out the way you think it would. Because I also quit after a character death.
Yeah, which one made you quit?
The season 9 finale, Dean's
that
demon,
death.
that
Okay,
death.
yeah, fair enough.
That one like made me rage quit. Like that one, I like turned the episode off and I angry walked around the block, and then I was like, I'm done. I'm not watching the show anymore.
Meredith, correct me if I'm wrong,
years.
but like Cass dying had something to do with you quitting at the end of season 12, if I remember correctly. That was at least a factor.
It wasn't Cass dying that quit for a little while. Netflix only had 12 seasons when I first started watching it, so when I had the opportunity again, I didn't really see the point in watching it. Part of that was because I cannot remember the death name. Usually I know this.
Eileen.
Usually I know this. Sorry, it's the ADHD.
I'm so glad Eileen got a second chance, because they did her so dirty.
So dirty.
Yeah, that was part of why I stopped watching, because the way she died, the way this character cared about died, ripped apart by hellhounds, the only thing she couldn't fight was just so disrespectful to her character and everything she had done, and I just felt so betrayed by the writers. So I just didn't see a point in watching Supernatural more.
I mean, they essentially did her dirty a second time, but I'm glad that they brought her back to have a moment.
I feel like her, that death and also Charlie are two that I'm just like are unforgivable from a
I
writing
can't believe I didn't even like send you. I sent a list of episodes that I was pretty sure I was going to talk about, but like I cannot believe
Charlie wasn't on that.
I think I just forgot in the moment when I was compiling.
Yeah, I feel like it's another one similar to Eileen, where I'm just like, this was purely shock value.
It took me until last year to watch that scene without like feeling physically ill. Like it's so unnecessarily graphic for nothing.
Yeah.
Like,
and I feel like it's like one of those things, if I had made it past season 9 in my first watch, I think that would have been another moment I might have quit. Because it didn't need to happen to get the emotional resonance. And I think that's Supernatural. Like sometimes the deaths have emotional resonance and you're like, okay.
Sometimes they're just killing people to kill them. Like Joe and Ellen, like they were just not in seasons 3 or 4, and then they bring them back for season 5 basically just to kill them off. Like there's no reason to kill Ellen. Like they could have killed Joe and not killed Ellen, but they just didn't. I mean, we don't love Samantha Ferris a whole lot, but like maybe she'd have less bad takes if her character had been in more episodes.
And maybe if she hadn't been killed off so like kind of horrifically and shockingly.
Yeah.
There are a few rules for character death, and most of the characters we're discussing, they have names. They should have had character arcs because like they've been in more than one episode. They're recurring characters we care about. We want to see where they're going. And a character death should resolve a character arc. And it just didn't, because they were just like chopped off at the knees, basically. Just there to make someone else to pain.
Something I wanted to start the episode off, and then I just like dove right in and didn't start the episode off this way. On screen, up to this point, we've recorded up to season 3, episode 4, Sin City. So up to season 3, we've had 214 on-screen deaths and 1,377 plus on and off-screen deaths combined.
Nice.
And like we're only 3 seasons. We're like at the start of season 3. Like by the time we get to season 15, we've seen so many. I mean, a lot of those are minor characters or like unnamed characters, like one-off characters. But like that's so much death.
You know what's really annoying? We mentioned Madison courting. Her death was actually better done than most of the character deaths on this entire show. She was in one episode. She showed up. She got bitten by a werewolf. She slept with Sam. She was a boss.
It has a whole arc.
Yeah.
She has a whole arc within that one. Like, it's a tragic arc, but it is like a whole complete arc.
She is sort of bridged to further Sam's pain, which wasn't necessary. Sam was in plenty of pain to begin with, but it's fine.
Okay, but like another similar one to like her, but like in the opposite direction is like Sarah, because Sarah they have in one episode in season 1, and then bring her back only to
kill her, and they kill like I would say 5 or 6 like one-off characters from season 1 in that episode. Like that whole episode is about killing off people that we've like previously saved. Like it's just like familiar face after familiar face, like but like not people we super care about, but like people that the boys care about. Like kind of.
I don't remember any of the other ones from that episode other than Sarah.
One is 2 of the actors were from Heartland, so one is Tommy from Wendigo, and the other is
I forgot about that. Oh my gosh, I just felt sad
I
about
just
that.
pretend that episode doesn't list better for me.
The other one is Jenny Klein, the girl who makes the cupcakes, and they thought that she was sleeping with her boss, but she totally wasn't. She was just like a stand-up gal, and like Jodie almost died in that episode too. Like it was like, and then like it's like okay, like Sarah said, and also we just don't care about anyone else because Jodie is now in danger, and like
it was a terrible episode. I hated it so much.
As opposed to other, Mystery Spot, which has many, obviously it's the same character dying a whole bunch of time, but like Mystery Spot is something that handles death like so interestingly. Like it's such a good episode.
That is absolutely where I wanted to pivot back to. So thank you.
And we'll bring up fridging later because I have my thoughts on that and how to do it.
Yes.
Yeah, Mystery Spot. Dean's dying over and over, and it's like very comedic for the first 3/4 of the episode. All the Tuesday deaths they're very funny. After I'd say the first one's for shock value, and like kind of the second one, and then after that they're all very funny. Like it's basically a montage, and it's silly and fun. And then like the Wednesday death happens, and it's like the episode goes to a dark place. And something I always like to point out, because I think people don't realize, is like in that like last little bit of the episode, 6 months goes by where Sam is like off the rails and crazy. And like when Dean dies at the end of season 3, like for real, he's only dead for 4 months, and Sam starts doing the demon blood and like hooking up with Ruby. And like literally it's like there's more time in that episode than there is like at the end of the season.
And we see the exact same like path for Sam. It was like such a well done, I think, thing too, because they get to show us like in a really small snapshot of like what Sam, we've seen like what Dean is like when he meets with Sam, and then so when we get like a preview, like this is what Sam could be like as Dean, and then he does later, and it, like good payoff.
There are very similar and very different reactions. Like Dean like shut down, and he's like, I'm just gonna like curl up here and like die basically.
Let it end.
Like
let it end.
Whereas Sam's like, I'm going to end the world. Like the world is going to end because
I'm gonna burn it all down.
Yeah, and I feel like as a viewer, like it's, as you said, it's a very interesting way to handle character death. Is with the time loop, there's kind of this feeling of security. Like we're allowed to laugh at this death because we know he's just gonna come back and die again, and eventually this will end and fine. Then he dies on Wednesday, and that feeling of security vanishes because we're not sure. This has broken the pattern. This feels more real.
Which I think is like Supernatural's ability to use that, mix of comedy and like sort of this dark humor. Like that episode is such a good example of it. And there are a few other deaths that are kind of like that, because we know they're not like permanent. We know they're part of like, even like there's a death, I don't remember what season it is, the one where Dean stops his own heart so that he can ghosts. I don't remember what season that is. I don't remember what episode it is.
Isn't that in season 13?
Yeah.
Isn't that like right before Tombstone?
Yeah, and it's like, there's some funny banter around it, but it's also masking this like real darkness that's going on for these characters.
There's 2 of those actually, now that I'm thinking about it.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Because wasn't there one in like a season, like Death Takes a Holiday, where they both like go on the other side, or? Yeah,
there's one where Sam and Dean both die, and they got Pamela killed. Like Pamela dies in that episode.
I forgot about that one.
And then there's another one in season 13 where Dean's just like so depressed about Cass being dead that he's just like, fuck it, I'm gonna kill myself and save a bunch of ghosts.
What about the one where he's walking around with Tessa the Reaper?
That's
the In My Time of Dying.
In My Time of Dying, and then
no, second one.
Tessa.
That is, I think, also Death Takes a Holiday.
Okay,
I think so.
Sure.
Wasn't there one where he goes in the doctor's chair and they inject him with something, and he goes.
Yeah, that's the one I'm thinking.
That's in season 6. Oh yeah, that's in season 6. When he's does the deal with death.
I forgot about that one, which is another super